ASU sports fans, welcome to Ram Zone. Now your host, Cameron Allen.
D2 basketball is still going on. Sadly, we're not still playing. But how was the season? What did y'all think of y'all's seasons this year?
You got it, Coach.
Anybody that watched it knows that we kind of had an up and down year. I do think it was a learning experience for all of our players. We had those times where we were battling through adversity, and they're great kids. They like to compete, but we just had to be smarter at times, and we get to learn from that. But they came to work every day ready to get better, and they competed. They stuck together towards the end and had the right attitude going into the last part of the season.
Yes, and Coach Patel, for you?
You know, for us, I've used a quote from Apollo 13, a Tom Hanks quote, where I've said our season was a successful failure. We didn't get as far as we wanted to get. We put this team together to do something really special this year, and we started out 12-1, got as high as number 10 in the country, and I thought we had the team to make a run. We had 3 season-ending injuries, and then other guys with concussions and whatnot throughout the entire spring, which was really frustrating, I know, for all of us. We didn't know who we were going to have week to week, game to game, and I'd look across the way at Coach Ellis's team, and they're dealing with the same thing, and you can't control some of those things, the uncontrollables, and so that was a little frustrating. And I was proud because we got to January, and I didn't know if we were going to make the conference tournament at that stage. We'd lost 4 straight games at that stage, and we were very shorthanded, playing with about 8 guys healthy at that time. And then, our guys kept fighting, and that's to the character of those guys. We had some awesome kids in the locker room, and we fought and still made the NCAA tournament, and lost in the first round to West Texas, who's still playing. I mean, they're playing in the Final Four today. So, when I say a successful failure, successful because I thought we fought a lot through adversity, and really fought to get to where we got as far as the NCAA tournament for a second straight year. But then a failure because, our hopes were a lot higher than that going into this season. So, I'm proud of our guys. We had an awesome group of kids, and, hopefully we can do it again next year and do it a little better.
Oh, we all hope so. And y'all are both fairly new head coaches. This was your 3rd year, and this was your 2nd year. Mm-hmm. How does it feel? Last year, y'all both had identical records, which was fun, 26-7. Y'all got to host the women's team hosted the regional tournament for the first time. How was that, Angelo State, first time hosting a regional tournament?
I think every coach goes into a program wanting to help them be better. And so, that was reassuring, and that was a great feeling that we were able to make history last year with a team that we didn't really succeed in the year before. But, one of the things that keeps us coaching is seeing our players succeed, and all their hard work is paid off. And that's what keeps us going, that keeps us motivated to keep pushing these players, and for them to see, not only us, but for the players to be able to host that. Obviously, it's good when you can play at home, and it gives us an advantage, especially in front of our crowd, to play that regional here. But really proud of that team, the way they competed and the way that they stepped into every game, not scared of their opponent, but gritting their teeth with a chip on their shoulder.
Mm-hmm. And for you, Coach Patel, last year was your first year head coach. You were Lone Star Co-Coach of the Year and Dave Campbell's non-D1 Texas Basketball Coach of the Year. What did that mean to you, being first year and just coming out and it was that successful?
We didn't know what to expect coming in. It's just a crazy time in college basketball right now, and in college athletics. We came in and the entire team was in the portal, and we spent the first 2 weeks just trying to keep as many as we could to bring back, and then we ourselves spent some time in the portal trying to find some immediate Band-Aids to, basically find as much success as we could that first year because, we just didn't know. I'm familiar with the league. I'd been in the league 9 years at WT, and so the Lone Star was not something new for me as a coach. And, so we knew what we needed it to look like We just didn't know how quickly we could get there. So, to accomplish those things in the first year was awesome. But, as she said, as a coach, it's why you do this is, same thing as last year. We had such a fun group of kids, but, it leaves a taste in your mouth of unfinished business as well. We didn't get to where we want to be. And our goal in both our programs, and I can speak for her on this as well, is, we're trying to win national championships. And, that's why I came to Angelo State as a coach, is I really feel like Angelo State's a place you can win a national championship in every sport here. And you can see when you look at our athletic department across the board, almost every team is winning here. Almost every team's been nationally ranked at one stage. Just take the last 2 or 3 years, you're seeing postseason appearances and teams knocking on the door really hard in postseason play. And, when you're on the outside looking in, you're like, hey, that could be a place you can do something special. So, doing all those things in year one was great. But all it meant is, hey, we haven't accomplished what we came here to do. And for us, that's try to get in position to win a national championship.
And y'all are both looking for national championships, obviously, like you said. I was just wondering, is there a way y'all collaborate between each other and maybe other coaching staffs to just really build a rich tradition here at Angelo State of winning? Last few years have been really successful across all sports.
Well, Coach Ellis and I work really close together, and she stops in my office, I stop in hers, and we bounce ideas. And probably when we're frustrated, we have each other to vent to at times because we can relate because our sports are obviously so similar. I wish a lot more of that went on in our department, to tell you the truth. But everyone at times is, they're wrapped up in their own season and in their own world. And, we probably don't have as much of that as we might need to at times, But, I do think they've done an awesome job here of just hiring good people and good coaches. And, when you look at these other athletes and you look at these other sports, you get to know some of these other kids from other teams. We got some special people here at Angelo State. And I think that starts at the top, when you have a president and a athletic director that wants to win and that wants to be surrounded by great people, good things can happen. And I think if you look at our coaches, and you look at the student athletes in specific, you'd see we got a lot of really good people here. And I think that's the start of why you see such special programs here.
Mm-hmm. And also, I'll move over to Coach Ellis. Y'all seem to have a bit of competitiveness between both coaching staffs to a degree. At Midnight Madness, before the season starts, y'all have y'all's three-point contest and all of that.
Which we're 2-0 in. The men's staff is 2-0 in that.
We gave them that.
You gave them that. I was there. There was some sharp shooting on the men's side.
There was.
I was wondering, how does that competitiveness just between coaching staffs really help with when the season comes around and just with winning and all that?
Yeah, so I knew when Coach Patel wanted this job that it was going to be something special. I wasn't for sure what decision they were going to make, mm-hmm. but I did know enough about him to know that he was going to set the bar high. And that's not only for his program but for the whole athletic department. And I admire that about him. And we are competitive at times, but if you got to hear, maybe after a loss, him come up to our coaching staff or his staff coming up to us saying, hey, man, and trying to help us. It's a real sense of security and knowing that, yeah, we all want great records. We all do. But at the same time, I know he's pulling for my program. And I want to be pulling for his. And, it's so hard to win ball games that it takes both of us trying to put our heads together. We'll talk to his players and he'll talk to our players. And so it's a real neat atmosphere to be around. And I've enjoyed coaching with him, although he whips my tail in the 3-point challenge. I used to be better than that, but I'm old and I guess washed up now. But I appreciate him, and I'm competitive, but at the same time, I think winning's contagious. He starts winning, we do, and I think that's maybe an answer why our records are a lot alike, maybe. So, yeah.
This year they were pretty close too. I think they were about one game difference on the record-wise.
Yeah.
And that competitiveness, I don't think you're washed yet.
Not
quite yet.
I
But
don't know.
you played at Texas Tech.
Yes.
8th all time on the scoring list still, and you got to play for Miss Marcia Sharp.
Mm-hmm.
How does that help you with your coaching career this late into it?
You know, I always, since I was about 2 years old, had a lot of respect for Coach Sharp. That was my dream growing up, was to play for her. And just to be under her and to see how disciplined she was, it made me grow up fast. And she was tough on all of us, but she set us up to succeed in life. And that's what it's about. There are some things that, you know, as you're a player, you don't understand, but then when you get into real life situations, now you start understanding, well, that's what she was talking about. I could never ask for a better coach than Coach Sharp. To this day, she would knock down a wall for me. And I think, you know, when I think of her, besides her competitive spirit, she made us do things right. And that's what I want our players to do. I want us to walk into a gym knowing that we're good and having that kind of confidence. And when you do things right, good things happen. And that was both on and off the floor, that she wanted that for us. And that was important to her. But I could list a bunch of things about her, but very excited and blessed that I could be under a coach like that.
And then after your playing career, you've coached other places, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Could you give us some insights on all the places you've coached and how that's led you here?
Yeah, so I haven't been around much like Coach Patel. He's been out of the state and everything else. But I started in Lubbock. I was at a junior high, All Saints Junior High. And that was when I had a basketball league. I owned a basketball league in Lubbock, Texas after I got done playing. So I was doing the league plus coaching at a private school, so I didn't have to teach, and I was all about that. So I could just go in and help this little junior high team. But, you know, I'll be honest with you, my whole playing career, I sat back and watched our coaches and just I was admiring them, but I was like, there's no way that I could ever do that. Like, that's not who I am, and I just don't know if I can motivate like they do. And also, I was family oriented, and I wanted to be around my family all the time, and I was afraid that I would not be able to do that if I got into coaching. But God has shown me that there's a balance, and you can still be successful with all of that if you balance your life. And so while I was doing all of that, I had the league, but I could make my own schedule. And so I said, as long as I get to go home at night and, you know, be with family and friends, then I'm okay. Then you know, there was a fire that was lit when I started making a positive difference in those young lives. And I then figured out that was God's plan for me, was to be in young people's lives, and not only that, but to give back to the game, to give back to basketball. Basketball has been so good to me. I would not be who I am if it weren't for them and all the coaches that have been in my life, and I want to give that back to players as well. I also want to obviously help Angelo State and be a positive influence for them.
Yes, ma'am. And I looked up, you had 17 years coaching experience before this, Coach Patel. I couldn't find it where you played or anything. I don't know what you're
I'm a non-player. I played in high school, Shamrock, Texas, born and raised, and played small high school. Wasn't good enough to play in college, so I just went to Texas Tech. We were actually at Texas Tech at the same time, so I got to watch her do her thing whenever I was in college. And then, you know, I got a unique story. I mean, I was in class with the football player. Chris Hudler was his name. And he was in his senior year, and I asked him what he's going to do next, and he said he was going to be a GA. And I said, well, what's that? And he said, well, I'm going to be a grad assistant, so I'm going to coach and go to grad school at the same time. And you know, I was so naive and dumb back then. I said, well, that sounds like something I want to do. And I was going to be a coach anyway, so I hand wrote letters and emails. I mean, 300-plus schools across the country just looking for a place to be a GA or volunteer. And, you know, Rick Cooper gave me an opportunity at West Texas A&M, and in 2005, that's where I started. I started as a volunteer grad assistant, and I was basically nothing more than a glorified manager when I started. And I sat on the steps of the field house at 7:15 every morning, just waiting for someone else to open the gym because I didn't have keys to it. So that's kind of how I broke in and just worked my way up there and spent 9 years there and got bumped up to second assistant, to the lead assistant, to associate head coach, and was interim head coach the last little bit of my last year there. Went to Rogers State, a Division II in Oklahoma. Spent a year there, had an awesome year there, 20 wins. Start my second year there and get hired at Oklahoma City University in October as the head coach there. And Coach Ellis was coaching at Wayland Baptist then as well, so we were in the same conference. So we actually got to see each other when our teams competed against each other.
Mm-hmm.
My wife was on the women's staff at Oklahoma City, actually competing against their team. So, got to see them battle it out as well. But did 4 years there, went to Northwestern Oklahoma State in a little town called Alva, Oklahoma. Got about 5,000-6,000 people in that town, and it was a Division II job, and had 3 awesome years there. We loved our time there, and our AD is still a close friend. I mean, I spent an hour on the phone with him last night, and has been a mentor to me, and he's been unbelievable. And then this job opened, and I picked up the phone and called Coach Ellis, and I said, hey, I want this job. And she said, well, I'll do everything I can to help on my end. I don't know how much I can. And she goes, but I'll do everything I can. And, I called Fred Reich, who's the former coach here at Angelo State. And Coach Reich's a longtime friend of mine. And he was friends with our athletic director as well. And he put a word in. And, I was fortunate enough to get an interview and then must have said a few of the right things to get a chance to be here. So this has been a dream job for me. My whole family's here. My sister went to college at ASU. Back in 2000, she got her degree. She got married. She never left. We've spent 15, 16 years at Christmases here. My parents built a home in Bentwood Country Club. They retired here 5 weeks before I got the job. So, I got mom, dad, sister, my whole family's here. And so like she was saying, you look at life and balance, and I get to spend so much time with my family. It's unbelievable. I mean, I feel like a kid some days because my mom lives down the street, 4 miles from the gym, and I can go home and she can still cook me lunch. So it's been awesome being here at ASU, but it's been a long, hard journey to get here. I can say it very quickly, but I can assure you success wasn't found overnight.
And we're talking about the family work balance. Your husband is your assistant coach?
Yes.
What is that quite like?
I always tell people, well, we're still married, so I guess that's a good sign. But because everybody was worried that might not work out when we first did that. But to be honest, ever since I started coaching, he's always been in my ear and helping me the whole way. And so when the opportunity came, it just made sense. It made sense. He should just be getting paid. If he's going to help me, he might as well be getting paid for it. And also, he believes a lot in what I do and understands it. So it was easy not to have to teach that system to him because he already knew that. And also, he completes me, and so he's good at things that I'm not, and that's why we got married, really. But he also does that. It is kind of like a marriage when you accept these people to work with. You got to make sure that they're going to fill in the gaps, and he also knows me like the back of his hand. So if things are kind of rocky, he'll go up to the players and say, "Hey, look, don't say this and don't look like this." Or she's going to be mad. So we make a good team, and it's worked out well. And when your staff is so small, you don't see each other much anyways because we're all having to go in separate directions. But it's been a blessing to be able to spend time. I just hate that he can't stay home with the kids when we're out of town. That's the only downfall. But other than that, it's been good.
It's almost perfect, but then you have to pay a babysitter.
That's
give
right.
them to someone.
That's right. Yeah.
And then I was also wanting to get into your players. They're students as well, not just athletes.
Mm-hmm.
What's the struggles balancing an academic and an athletic life as a coach?
Well, for us, we always try to, ever since I've started playing, and our coaches taught us this too, we have these priorities, and God's first, family's second, and then academics is third, then basketball's fourth. And that's kind of how I try to approach every season, is that's going to be our priorities. You're not going to go far in this life without your degree in academics. It's going to take you way further than the reverse pivot that I teach you how to do. And so we try to make that very clear. At the same time, we want to be competitive on the floor. And so we want to be rational about how we go about that. But, our academics carries over to what they do on the floor. If we're having to beg them to study off the floor, then we're probably going to have to beg them to work hard on the floor. That doesn't happen all the time, but there is a lot of correlation to that. And we talk about that. Like, you're going to be all in, but you're going to be all in academically and you're going to be all in on the floor. Partly because you can't play if you don't pass. But that's one of the responsibilities that we give them. And we also make sure that we do study hall on the road and make sure, time management is something that they've got to learn, especially athletes, because they're gone so much and our season is long. And so it's important for them to understand that I can't wait till the last minute to get a grade in. You just can't do that. You got to start ahead of time, which trains them again for real life situations.
Yes, ma'am. And for you, Coach Patel, do you?
I'll echo some of what she said, because I think our core beliefs as coaches are very similar. It's probably why we get along so well. Not only coaches but our programs. Even going back before I answer on academics is, if you see our teams when we're on the road, you see two teams that are truly rooting for one another. Our guys are up in the stands rooting when they're playing and vice versa. And so, but I think that starts with both her and I. Our core beliefs are very, very similar. Academics is a priority. From day one, I've told our team, hey, you're going to pour into this university. You're going to pour into this athletic department. And that's not just going to be with basketball. We try to challenge our guys 4 different ways. We always say athletically, academically, socially, and we're going to touch spiritually. And those are the ways we try to challenge our kids every day. And so for us, academics has been very important. We had a 3.52 GPA in the fall, and it was the highest in program history for us. But we set a very high standard and a very high bar. But, I don't try to set unrealistic goals for them. My deal is I want them to max their potential. And if you're a 4.0 student, I want you performing at a 4.0 level. If you're a 2.5 student, then I want you at a 2.5. I just don't want you underachieving. And so, we set things up to help them. Our guys have a class sign-in sheet. They have to come up to our offices every morning and sign my door 15 minutes prior to their first class of the day. One, so we know they're awake and moving around, but we keep a huge academic board in our offices, and they can see every assignment that's due for the week. It's up there almost like an Excel spreadsheet. And, we just helping them with, like what Coach said, time management. We're helping remind them of what assignments are due and just kind of helping balance everything and make sure that they still understand how important it is. We had 6 seniors this year. All 6 will have degrees by May. 2 of them will have master's degrees as well. And when you look at our program and when you look at her program and you see the graduation rates and you see the GPAs, to me it's not a shock why you see the success, they're taking care of business on and off the floor. And that's what we're looking for. And it's same thing with community service to me. We can even tie that into this conversation. A year ago, we were 4th in the country in community service, and we were also 1st in the conference in attendance. So it's not a shock to me that our players understand that if you give back, people are going to give back to you. If you pour into others, people are going to pour into you. And I thought that, so that there was a correlation. We're 4th in the country community service. Hey, we're 1st in the conference in attendance. So the fact that they got out in the community, it really helped us. So, that's when I'm talking about challenging them athletically, academically, socially. Those are the things we're talking about is, being on top of your grades, being on top of community service. We do weekly devotionals in our locker room with Coach Brett Lang, who's our FCA character coach. And, we do a lot of different things to challenge them. And ultimately, to me, when you look at our programs, you see, hey, this is why they're successful. They're not just focused on the basketball part. They're actually challenging their kids to do other things beyond basketball.
And we're talking about your athletes here. I was wondering, do y'all have any athletes over y'all's 2 and 3 years here so far that have really impacted you on or off the court, just really stood out to y'all these last few years?
I got to say Willie Guy for me, and everybody on campus knows him. He's kind of the face of our program, and he's been a guy that I took the job, and I always make this joke, and it's not really a joke. I took the job. I didn't know what I was doing. But 6 days later, I flew Willie Guy in and signed him. And I knew it was a person we needed on our team, and his leadership ability and his character. And I'm not even talking about him as a basketball player, has meant so much to our program that I thought it set the tone from day one of me stepping on campus here is I had someone that I could trust and someone I believed was an extension of me on the floor. And Willie has brought that every single day for 2 years now. And so, I've told people before he's not the best player. He's been all conference, second team last year, third team this year. He's not our leading scorer. He's never going to be our best in a lot of categories, but he has meant so much, and he's going to be the hardest kid I've ever had to replace in almost 20 years of coaching now because of what he's meant to our program. So for me, it's him, but then you can look at a lot of players, and I think all of them impact us as coaches their own different way. And, I tell people I've learned more from our kids since I've been here than they've probably learned from me at this stage because we have had some very good guys. And I think the way we recruit, we try to put awesome people in that locker room because if you have great people in the locker room, it's going to be a diverse group with the way men's basketball is. They come from all across the country, but if you've got a diverse group of young men that are awesome human beings, you got a chance to do something special if they'll all get on the same page. So that's what we're trying to do as a program.
And for you, Coach Ellis, do you have one?
Sure. Peyton Brown is our Willie Guy.
Yep.
She didn't get to play the last year. She ended up having an injury. But the importance of that player out on the floor was huge. Not only that, she was a big part of turning this program around. She came with me from Wayland. She was one of the ones that had come with me. And so, it's hard to teach a team a new system. But when you have some players that come with you, they're an extension already, and they're in the locker room trying to help. It's like bringing your whole staff to help the other ones figure out not only our system but how we coach and all of that. And she just did a really nice job of that. And you talk about a competitive spirit. There wasn't going to be anybody that she thought she couldn't beat. And she just made her teammates better. You could tell a clear difference that, we were on the same page when she was out on the floor. And our chemistry was the way it needed to be. And so it was unfortunate that we didn't get to see her play another year, but really special player for sure. And she was a yes ma'am player. She's a coach's dream, really. I'm willing to do whatever it took to win. But Sawyer Lloyd was another one, super competitive, one of the best athletes I've ever coached. And I can go on and on about each one of these. Tay Pleasant, she just left for Australia to go continue playing, and great player. She was one also that came with us from Wayland Baptist. And then I know y'all didn't get to see much of Blakely, but she too was a huge part of turning the program around. She was our leading scorer that first year, and we were struggling at the beginning, but she was one of the ones that helped us take off there towards the end, and she ended up getting hurt as well twice after that. And so that was a hard loss for us. But Maddie Stevens is a great player for us. And little MJ, she's got a lot of energy that is hard to replace. I'm trying to do that right now, but can't say enough about those kids.
Yes, ma'am. And perfect timing on that last question. We're about to wrap up here. We've got 30 seconds. I just want to say thank y'all for coming out to the show. And I know a lot of y'all's players, and I can see it through y'all, what y'all have instilled through them. But, guys, next week on Ram Zone, we've got the tennis coach coming out. We had to push some things around, but kind of worked out. We got a basketball recap with Coach Ellis and Coach Patel. Just want to say thank y'all, guys, and I hope y'all have a great rest of the day. See y'all next week at 12:30.
Thank you.